The modern landscape of romance is often painted with the broad brushes of casual dating and low-stakes commitment, but beneath the surface of many relationships lies a profound, almost primal intensity, the fear of loss. When a man truly falls, he doesn't just fall for your personality or your presence. He falls for the entire architecture of a future built alongside you. For him, you are no longer just a partner. You have become the very gravity that holds his world together. When the realization hits that his life has become inextricably woven with yours, a subtle but powerful shift occurs. He begins to experience a specific kind of future terror, not a fear of you, but a terrifying vision of a world where you are suddenly absent. This isn't the suffocating, toxic jealousy often portrayed in movies. Rather, it is a deep-seated, quiet urgency that drives a man to become the best version of himself. It is the silent engine behind his newfound ambition, his sudden interest in long-term financial stability, and his unwavering willingness to compromise. When a man is terrified of a future without you, he stops playing the short game. He moves away from the see-how-it-goes mentality and begins to act as a permanent guardian of your shared connection. He becomes hyper-aware that everything he values, his peace, his joy, and his sense of identity, is now anchored in your shared bond. To the outside observer, he might just seem devoted or reliable. But if you look closer, you will see the signs of a man who has looked into the abyss of a solitary life and decided he never wants to go back there. This fear manifests in the way he integrates you into his family, the way he memorizes the smallest details of your needs, and the way he treats your personal battles as if they were his own. He is essentially auditioning for the role of a lifetime every single day, because he knows the understudy could never fill your shoes. Understanding these signs is crucial because they represent the highest form of vulnerability a man can offer. In a world that tells men to be stoic and self-sufficient, admitting, through action or word, that he is terrified of losing you is a radical act of love. It is a signal that he has placed his emotional survival in your hands. Whether it's through consistent inclusion in his 5U plans or sudden, intense focus on emotional growth, these behaviors are his way of building a fortress around the relationship. He isn't just trying to keep you. He is trying to ensure that the life you share is so rich, so secure, and so deeply fulfilling that the idea of you walking away becomes an impossibility for both of you. This is the portrait of a man who isn't just in love. He is a man who has found his home and is willing to do anything to keep the doors open. 1. Prioritizing your long-term goals over his short-term comfort. When a man is terrified of a future without you, his perspective on self-interest undergoes a radical shift. In a typical relationship, an individual might balance their personal desires against the needs of the couple. However, when the fear of losing you takes root, your aspirations become the primary North Star for his decision-making process. This goes far beyond simply being supportive. It manifests as a proactive willingness to endure personal discomfort, career shifts, or lifestyle changes to ensure your path remains clear. If your dream requires a move to a different city, he doesn't just agree to it. He begins researching job markets and logistics before you even ask. He views your success as the ultimate insurance policy for the relationship's longevity. This behavior stems from a deep-seated realization that his life is significantly better with you in it than it could ever be alone. He recognizes that short-term comfort, perhaps staying in a familiar job or living in a preferred neighborhood, is a small price to pay to avoid the catastrophic emotional vacuum of your absence. He becomes an architect of your future because he knows that if you feel stifled or held back, the risk of you outgrowing the relationship increases. By investing his energy into your long-term goals, he is essentially building a world that you won't want to leave. Furthermore, this prioritization is often a silent language of devotion. He may not always say, "I'm scared to lose you," but he shows it by choosing your promotion over his leisure time, or your educational pursuits over his financial splurges. He calculates the ROI of his actions based on how much closer they bring you together in the long run. In his mind, a future where you are fulfilled and happy is the only future where you stay, and he will move mountains to ensure that reality comes to fruition. 2. extreme anxiety during periods of conflict or distance. For most, conflict is a standard hurdle in a relationship. But for a man who is terrified of losing you, a simple argument can feel like a structural failure. While a secure partner might view a disagreement as a healthy release of tension, a man gripped by the fear of a future without you sees it as a potential precursor to an ending. His physiological and emotional response to the cold shoulder or a heated debate is often disproportionate to the event itself. You may notice him becoming visibly restless, unable to focus on work, or even experiencing physical symptoms like a loss of appetite or sleep. This anxiety is rooted in catastrophic thinking. During a period of distance, his mind doesn't just stop at the argument. It fast-forwards to the breakup, the moving out, and the lonely years ahead. Because he has centered his entire identity and future around your presence, any threat to that connection feels like a threat to his very survival. He may attempt to over-repair the situation, apologizing excessively, seeking immediate resolution, or checking in constantly to gauge your emotional temperature. He cannot tolerate the limbo state because, in that silence, his fears of abandonment grow loudest. Furthermore, this anxiety often leads to a hypervigilance regarding your moods. He becomes an expert at reading your micro-expressions and tone of voice. If he senses a shift toward emotional withdrawal, he may go into overdrive to win back your favor. This isn't about winning the argument for him. It's about closing the gap. He would rather admit he's wrong, even when he isn't, than endure another hour of the distance that reminds him of how empty his life would be if that distance ever became permanent. 3. Consistent inclusion of you in every 5-year plan. When a man is genuinely afraid of a future where you aren't present, his language regarding the future loses the word I and becomes dominated by we. This isn't just a romantic gesture. It's a psychological integration. Whether he is discussing a career milestone he hopes to reach in 2029 or travel bucket list for the next decade, you are the permanent fixture in those mental images. He doesn't make plans and then see if you fit. He builds the plans around your existence. If he's thinking about buying property, he's checking if it's near your favorite spots or has enough space for your hobbies. This consistent inclusion acts as a defense mechanism against his fear. By constantly vocalizing a shared future, he is reinforcing the commitment and checking for your continued buy-in. Every time he says, "When we are older," or "our next house will have," he is looking for a nod of agreement from you. That agreement is the oxygen that keeps his anxiety at bay. If you were to suggest a plan that didn't include him, or if you spoke of your own future in singular terms, it would likely trigger a deep sense of panic because it disrupts the narrative he has built to keep himself feeling secure. Moreover, this planning often involves long-term commitments that are difficult to untangle. He might push for joint investments, shared pets, or multi-year memberships. While these are signs of love, for the man who is terrified of your departure, they are also anchors. He wants to weave your lives together so intricately that the idea of separating becomes not just emotionally painful, but practically impossible. His 5-year plan is a map, and in his mind, you are the only destination that matters. 4. Vulnerability about his deepest fears and insecurities. In many social structures, men are taught to project strength and stoicism. However, a man who is terrified of a future without you will eventually drop the alpha mask in favor of radical honesty. This is because he realizes that a superficial connection is a fragile one. To ensure you stay, he feels a desperate need to be truly known and to know you in return. He will share the things that haunt him, his failures, his childhood wounds, and specifically, his fear of not being enough for you. This vulnerability is a gamble. He is handing you the blueprint of his heart, hoping that the intimacy created will bind you to him. When he talks about his insecurities, he is often indirectly asking for a reason to feel safe. If he asks, "Do you ever get bored of me?" or "What would you do if I lost my job?" he isn't just fishing for compliments. He is performing a stress test on the relationship. He is terrified that his flaws will eventually drive you away, so he exposes them early and often to see if you will still accept him. In his logic, if you can love the weakest version of him, you are less likely to leave when things get difficult. This level of openness is also a sign that he has placed his emotional well-being entirely in your hands. He has made you his safe harbor. While this creates a beautiful bond, it also reveals the stakes of the relationship for him. By being vulnerable, he is admitting that you have the power to destroy him emotionally. This transparency is his way of saying, I am all in, and I am terrified of the day I might have to go back to being strong and alone. 5. Seeking constant reassurance about your commitment. While neediness is often viewed negatively, in a man who is terrified of losing you, it manifests as a deep-seated hunger for affirmation. This isn't necessarily about ego, it's about stability. He may ask you frequently how you feel about him, or he might look for proof of your love through small gestures. He thrives on verbal confirmation. Hearing you say, I'm not going anywhere, or I love our life together acts like a soothing balm to his underlying fear of abandonment. He needs to know that the foundation he's standing on is solid, and because feelings can be fluid, he checks the firmness of that foundation daily. This seeking of reassurance often intensifies after life changes, such as you getting a new job, making new friends, or experiencing a boost in self-confidence. While a secure partner would simply celebrate, a man terrified of a future without you might worry that these changes will make you realize you don't need him anymore. He might become more affectionate or inquisitive about your day, trying to ensure he still holds the primary spot in your heart. He isn't trying to stifle you. He is trying to navigate his own feeling of being replaceable. Ultimately, this constant need for reassurance is a reflection of how high he has placed you on a pedestal. He sees you as such an incredible asset to his life that he finds it hard to believe his luck. His fear is born from a high valuation of you and a perhaps lower valuation of himself in your absence. Every "I love you" you offer is a brick in the wall he is building to keep the cold reality of a solitary future at bay. He asks because he cares, and he cares because, without you, his world would lose its color. 6. Investing heavily in building a life with shared assets. When a man is terrified of a future without you, his financial and material decisions shift from individual accumulation to interlocking stability. He begins to view his resources not as personal property, but as the mortar used to build a fortress around your relationship. This might manifest as pushing for a joint mortgage, merging bank accounts, or purchasing high-value items that require two people to maintain or enjoy. By weaving your financial lives together, he is creating a tangible reality that is difficult to dissolve. For him, a shared deed or joint investment is more than a smart financial move. It is a physical anchor that keeps you moored to the life you have built together. This heavy investment serves two psychological purposes. First, it acts as a commitment device. He believes that the more skin in the game you both have, the more likely you are to work through the inevitable rough patches of a relationship. He is terrified that if leaving were easy, you might take that exit during a moment of weakness. Secondly, it is an expression of his desire to provide and secure a future where you never have to want for anything. He wants to be the man who built the world you love living in, making the idea of leaving that world feel like an unnecessary loss of comfort and security. Furthermore, this behavior reveals his long-term vision. He isn't spending money on fleeting experiences. He is investing in forever items. He cares about the durability of the furniture, the school district of the house, and the reliability of the family car. Every dollar spent on a shared asset is a vote of confidence in your longevity as a couple. He is effectively putting his money where his heart is, desperately hoping that by building a life of abundance and shared responsibility, he is making himself an indispensable part of your daily existence. 7. Integrating you into every facet of his family and social life. A man who cannot fathom a future without you will go to great lengths to socially cement your place in his world. He doesn't just introduce you to his parents. He ensures you have their phone numbers and are invited to the private family group chats. He brings you into his closest circles of friends, not as a guest, but as a permanent member of the tribe. This integration is a calculated move to make your lives inseparable. He wants his mother to love you, his best friend to rely on you, and his siblings to consider you one of their own. By doing this, he ensures that if you were to leave, It wouldn't just be a breakup between two people. It would be a localized earthquake affecting his entire social ecosystem. This enmeshment provides him with a sense of security. When his entire support system views you as his other half, it reinforces his identity as a partner. It also creates a subconscious pressure for the relationship to succeed. He knows that losing you means answering to everyone he cares about. He is terrified of the void your absence would leave, not just in his bed, but at the holiday dinner table and the weekend outings. He wants you to be so deeply rooted in his community that the very thought of extracting yourself feels like an impossible task. Additionally, this behavior shows his pride in you. He wants to show you off because he believes you are his greatest achievement. By making you a fixture in his social life, he is signaling to the world, and to you, that he has no plan B. He is burning the bridges to his single life and any other potential futures. He wants your social calendars to be a single, unified document, ensuring that every significant memory he makes from this point forward has your face in it, making the prospect of a solo future seem entirely alien. 8. Willingness to make major sacrifices or compromises. Sacrifice is the ultimate currency of a man who is terrified of losing his partner. While a casual partner might compromise on dinner plans, a man who sees you as his entire future will compromise on his fundamental lifestyle, career trajectory, or even his long-held personal beliefs. If your career requires a cross-country move that takes him away from his family, he does it without resentment. If you decide you want a different lifestyle than the one he imagined, he adapts his vision to match yours. This isn't a sign of weakness. It is a sign of extreme valuation. He has performed a cost-benefit analysis and concluded that no personal sacrifice is as painful as the thought of life without you. This willingness to bend often comes from a place of deep-seated fear that he is replaceable. He may feel that if he doesn't meet your needs perfectly, or if he becomes a source of friction in your life, you will find someone who is easier to love. Consequently, he becomes the ultimate partner, smoothing over every conflict by taking the burden of compromise onto his own shoulders. He prioritizes your peace over his pride. If he sees that a certain habit of his bothers you, he doesn't just minimize it. He attempts to eradicate it, fearing that small annoyances will eventually snowball into a reason for you to leave. Ultimately, his sacrifices are a silent plea for you to stay. He is showing you that his love is not conditional on his own comfort. By repeatedly putting your needs above his own, he is demonstrating that you are the most valuable part of his life. He is terrified of the sunk cost of a life lived for himself if that life doesn't include the one person who makes it worth living. To him, winning an argument or keeping a personal preference is a hollow victory if it costs him even a fraction of your affection or increases the distance between you. 9. Showing intense protective instincts toward your relationship. When a man is terrified of a future without you, he becomes a fierce guardian of the relationship's boundaries. This isn't just about physical protection. It's about protecting the emotional and spiritual space you share. He becomes hyper-aware of external threats, not just other suitors, but anything that could potentially lure you away or change your heart. This could be a toxic friend who doesn't support the union, a job that consumes too much of your shared time, or even his own negative behaviors. He is constantly patrolling the perimeter, looking for anything that might cause a crack in the foundation of your togetherness. This protectiveness often manifests as a desire for quality time and rituals. He may be insistent on a weekly date night or a specific way you greet each other because these rituals are the glue that keeps the relationship intact. He is terrified of the drift, that slow, quiet process where two people stop being a team and become roommates. To prevent this, he might become the emotional architect of the relationship, constantly checking in to see if you are happy, if the spark is still there, and if there is anything he can do to make your life better. In his mind, the relationship is a living thing that requires constant defense. If he senses that you are becoming distant or that the we is becoming you and I, his protective instincts go into overdrive. He may become more romantic, more attentive, or more proactive in solving problems. He isn't just protecting you from the world. He is protecting you from the possibility of wanting a life without him. He views the relationship as a precious, fragile treasure, and he is terrified that if he lets his guard down for even a moment, the future he has dreamed of will slip through his fingers. 10. A heightened focus on financial and emotional stability. A man who is terrified of a future without you will often experience a sudden, intense drive to get his house in order. If he was previously laid back about his finances or career, you might see him suddenly become obsessed with promotions, savings, and long-term security. This isn't about greed. It's about making himself a safe bet. He is terrified that if he cannot provide a stable, comfortable, and predictable life, you will eventually look for that stability elsewhere. He views his financial health as a key component of his value as a partner and a primary way to ensure that your future together is as stress-free as possible. This focus extends to emotional stability as well. He may seek therapy, read self-help books, or make a conscious effort to manage his temper and stress. He is terrified that his own emotional volatility or baggage will eventually become a deal-breaker for you. He wants to be the rock you lean on, believing that if he is your source of strength, you will never have a reason to seek support from anyone else. He is essentially upgrading himself to ensure he remains the best possible option for you as you both age and grow. This behavior is a clear sign that he is playing the long game. He isn't just thinking about next month's rent. He's thinking about retirement, healthcare, and the legacy you will build together. His fear of a future without you drives him to eliminate any weak points in his life that could lead to failure. By becoming a man of substance, stability, and reliability, he is trying to prove that he is a worthy partner for the long haul. He wants to create a life so secure and fulfilling that the thought of leaving it, and leaving him, becomes an unthinkable risk for you to take. 11. Refining his character to meet your standards. When a man realizes that you are the one, and the thought of losing you becomes his greatest fear, he begins an internal process of refinement. He looks at himself through your eyes and identifies the parts of his character that might be lacking. If you value patience, he works on his temper. If you value ambition, he pushes himself harder at work. This isn't about being fake. It's about a deep desire to be the man you deserve. He is terrified that his flaws will one day outweigh his virtues in your mind, leading you to decide that you could do better elsewhere. This self-improvement is often silent but consistent. You might notice him listening more intently, becoming more helpful around the house without being asked, or curbing habits that he knows you dislike. He is essentially pruning his personality to better fit into the life you are building. He recognizes that a relationship is a dynamic thing, and that he must evolve to keep pace with your growth. He doesn't want to be the version of himself that you eventually outgrow. Instead, he wants to be the partner who evolves alongside you, ensuring that he remains relevant and necessary to your happiness. Furthermore, this refinement is a testament to the influence you have over him. He respects your opinion so highly that your standards become his own. He is terrified of a future where he looks back and realizes he lost you because he was too stubborn to change. To prevent that regret, he becomes his own harshest critic. He holds himself to a higher standard because he knows that the prize, a lifetime with you, is worth the hard work of self-discipline. He is building a version of himself that is tailor-made to be your lifelong companion. 12. Remembering and acting on the smallest details of your needs. A man terrified of a future without you becomes a student of you. He pays an almost obsessive amount of attention to the small, seemingly insignificant details of your preferences, fears, and desires. He remembers how you like your coffee, the name of your first pet, and the specific way you feel when you're stressed. But more importantly, he acts on this information. He buys your favorite snack when you've had a bad day, or he handles a chore he knows you hate before you even have to think about it. These small acts of service are his way of saying, I see you, I know you, and I am indispensable to you. This behavior is a strategy to create emotional intimacy that feels impossible to replace. He is terrified that if he becomes just another guy, you will eventually find someone else who can fulfill the basic roles of a partner. But if he is the only person who truly understands the nuances of your soul, he becomes a unique and irreplaceable part of your life. He wants to be the only person who knows how to calm your specific anxieties or celebrate your specific wins. By becoming an expert on he is creating a bond that is so personalized it feels like it could never be replicated with anyone else. Moreover, these small actions are a constant stream of micro-reassurances. He is showing you, every single day, that you are at the forefront of his mind. He is terrified of complacency, the silent killer of long-term relationships. By staying vigilant and attentive to your needs, he is fighting against the passage of time and the fading of romance. He wants to ensure that you never wake up and wonder if he still cares. He wants your life to be so filled with his thoughtful gestures that the thought of a day without them feels like a significant loss. 13. Expressing fear or disdain for the concept of starting over. You can often tell a man is terrified of a future without you by how he speaks about the dating world or the idea of being single again. He might express a visceral disdain for the modern dating scene, calling it exhausting, pointless, or miserable. This isn't just social commentary. It's a reflection of his internal state. He has found his home in you, and the idea of being cast back out into the wilderness of a single life is genuinely frightening to him. He doesn't want to learn someone else. He doesn't want to tell his life story again. He doesn't want to build a new foundation from scratch. This fear of starting over is often linked to the fact that he has invested his best years and his deepest emotions into you. He views a potential breakup not just as a loss of a partner, but as a total bankruptcy of his emotional life. He feels that he has nothing left in the tank for anyone else. When he says things like, "I don't know what I'd do without you," or "You're the last person I'm ever going to love," he is being dead serious. He has closed the door on all other possibilities, and he is terrified of that door being forced open again. Additionally, this disdain for starting over makes him highly motivated to fix problems within the relationship. While another man might see a major hurdle as a sign to move on, he sees it as a challenge that must be overcome because the alternative, starting over, is unacceptable. He is willing to do the hard work of couples therapy, long conversations, and radical change because he is running away from the void of the unknown. You are his final answer, and he is terrified of the question being asked again. 14. Treating your challenges as his own personal battles. When a man is terrified of a future without you, your problems become his primary missions. If you are having a conflict at work, he is up late with you strategizing a solution. If you are dealing with a health issue, he is at every appointment, researching treatments and acting as your fiercest advocate. He doesn't just offer support from the sidelines. He steps into the arena with you. This is because he views you and him as a single unit. If you are hurting, the future he is trying to build is under threat, and he will do anything to neutralize that threat. This behavior serves to make him your most reliable ally. He is terrified that if you feel you have to face the world alone, you might eventually decide you are better off alone. By becoming your shield, he is proving his utility and his devotion. He wants you to feel that with him by your side, you are invincible. This creates a deep sense of psychological safety for you. But for him, it is a way to ensure he remains at the center of your life. He wants to be the first person you call when things go wrong and the first person you want to celebrate with when things go right. Furthermore, taking on your battles is a way for him to demonstrate his commitment through action. He knows that words are cheap, but the time and energy spent fighting for your well-being are undeniable proof of his love. He is terrified of being a fair-weather partner. He wants to be the one who stays when everyone else leaves, believing that this level of loyalty is what will keep you tied to him forever. He doesn't just want to be your lover. He wants to be your hero, your partner in command, and your ultimate safety net. 15. Frequent verbal affirmations of your importance to his identity. Finally, a man who is terrified of a future without you will often narrate his devotion. He will tell you, in no uncertain terms, that you are the best thing that ever happened to him, that he is a better man because of you, and that his life didn't truly begin until he met you. These aren't just sweet nothings. They are verbal stakes in the ground. By vocalizing your importance to his identity, he is making a public and private commitment that he cannot easily take back. He is defining himself through his relationship with you, making you the cornerstone of his entire self-concept. This frequent affirmation is also a way for him to test the air. When he tells you how much he needs you, he is looking for a reciprocal response. He needs to hear that he is important to you, too. Every time you acknowledge his role in your life, his future terror subsides just a little bit. He uses these affirmations to build an emotional history that you both can look back on. He wants to create a narrative of us against the world that is so strong it can withstand any storm. Ultimately, his words are a reflection of his reality. He has integrated you so deeply into his sense of self that he literally cannot imagine who he is without you. He is terrified of the identity crisis that would follow your departure. By constantly telling you how much you mean to him, he is trying to make sure you never forget your value in his eyes. He is hoping that by being the person who loves you most vocally and most deeply, he will be the person you choose to stay with for the rest of your life.